Welcome to the City Advertising and Promotion Commission meeting for February the 8th, 2023, 6 p.m. in the auditorium. I'm going to take roll. Steve Holyfield.
Here.
Chris Jones.
Here.
Autumn Slane.
Here.
Chris Clifton.
Here.
Mark Hicks.
Here.
And Jeff Carter. We have a quorum. We don't have a secretary, and we don't have anyone on our staff, so we do not have minutes, but as soon as we can get a secretary voted on tonight, we'll be able to get those approved. So I'm going to move on to financials. Scott? Yes, sir. Are you ready?
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Earlier today, I sent an email to each of you, and I hope you received it, kind of giving you the 13 documents related to December and end of year. And I hope that you had time to review that. I know you're busy, and I also supplied you with a summation of the documents. And hopefully, as we move forward, we can talk about that if you have a question. Okay. If you'll look at Schedule A1, which is on the board, it shows our activity for the month of December. If you'll notice, for the month of December 2022, we had $174,146 in collections, and our budget was $120,000, so that's an increase of $54,146, which equates to 45%. Now, if you look up at the category of food and beverage, it had an actual of $100,157 on a budget of $60,000. That is rather high, and I don't know how to explain that at the moment. But I'm working on a 3-year breakdown of sales so that hopefully in the next meeting I'll have more information to kind of show trends in sales tax collections. Because if the collections are up, the sales are up. And so my curiosity was piqued with that number. So the number's correct, and I can't give you a great answer right now as to why it's up 67%, other than the advertising was affected from Paradise. So I don't really, everybody would have an opinion on that one. If you look under that column, it says January through December of 2022, we had total collections for food and lodging of $2,081,605. Our annual budget for the 12-month period was $1,756,000, increase of $325,605 or 19%. So we actually had sales tax collections that were 19% higher than what we had anticipated our budget, which is very good in this economic climate, in my opinion. If you look under Section B, under historical comparison, we do the same thing as we do in Section A. We're going to compare December 2022 to December 2021. The total collections in 22 was $174,146, and in December 2021, it was $136,127 or $38,019 increase, or 28%. That number impressed me because of the end of the year comparison. Those are traditional months that we're competing against other localities for Christmas notoriety here, and we did have Holiday in the Park, or holiday events here going on, and I'm going to say that did have a positive effect on our December 2022 numbers. So that was something that was not going on in December of 2021. If you compare the last row across, year-to-date collections, of course, $2,081,605 per year in 2022. December 2021, it was $1,868,100. So comparing the two time periods, it was a $213,505 increase, or 11%. That's how we ended up the year as far as sales tax collections and comparisons. That's Schedule A1. Of course, A2 shows us our bank balances, and they all agree to our general ledger on the on the QuickBooks program. Under worksheet A3 in your packet, I continue to list the categories based on collections, and as you'll notice on the restaurants, they're strong 85% of collections for the food section of our CAPC tax. 85% was attributed to the food. And if you look under lodging, it looks like probably, I think that the hotel motels were at a 45%, and at the Airbnb and the B&B was at 42%. So they're right there together. Those two categories comprise the majority of the collections for the lodging section of our CAPC tax. Okay. Under Schedule A4, that is our December 2022 financial budget. And I will point out that under total collections, we collected $174,145 to a budget of $120,000, which is $54,145 increase, or 45%. That's a great number there. Now, this is the section that I spent time providing explanations to you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop me. And okay, go ahead.
I have questions on the Folk Festival and the Festival of Arts.
Okay.
Number 5030 and 5035.
Okay.
So when we're making the budget dedication to do, how much was their budget for Folk Fest this year? And this is not.
I'll have to pull up another
I
schedule.
thought it was 40,000.
I think it's 40,000, but I didn't want to say that until I see it on paper.
And
Yep.
then for the Festival of the Arts, 23,000 or 30,000? And then you're showing that they had an increase for the arts of 6,000, and the Folk Festival, we had an increase of 7,000. What could they not afford in their budget that they would come back and we would revamp this?
I don't think, are you basing that comment off the worksheet, off the email I sent you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The way I'm reading it is Folk Fest needed an additional $7,000 and change, and the Festival of Arts needed another $6,000 and change to do some things like the 3D art sculpture, and for the Folk Fest, it was TV and radio station ads.
Okay.
So was that not included in their original $40,000 budget?
That is a question I cannot answer directly because I was not involved in that.
Their details?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, what I do, like I said earlier, my responsibility is to never pay invoices that aren't approved in advance. Mm-hmm. So whenever I get an invoice, regardless of what if you've said this is what we're going to do, I make note of that, and so does the staff above me, with the understanding that that's their job. So whenever they give me an invoice and they sign off of it, that's telling me this is a legitimate invoice to pay. Scott, issue payment. Okay? So that's the answer to that question, that apparently there was expenditures chosen to be spent above that line item. Okay? Now, you got to remember, a budget is a living document. It's not ever going to be perfect. It's a guideline to go by. Now, I'll watch and monitor these invoices, and I do make comment as to, well, I don't know if this is the right thing to do right now. That's my advice. I don't have the authority to stop it, if that makes sense. Okay, so
yes.
That's why I'm pointing this out, because that's my responsibility to you. Okay? And so I hope that answered your question.
Well, I guess where I'm left scratching my head is, why did this money not come before us before it was approved? And you're saying that it was approved by your higher up?
I'm saying that whenever a person makes a request to the commission to fund a specific event, the monitoring of how they spent is left up to the director, okay?
Gotcha.
Their responsibility is to see it's spent correctly. My job is to make sure that it's approved for payment, given the authorization for me to do that. So that I'm not wearing, I'm one wearing my finance hat, but I don't put on something I don't have any control. I have control, and my control is to give advice, which I've done.
I'm just wondering, the budget's $40,000, or whatever it is. It's different for the two. If they are getting $40,000, why would they ever go over the budget without coming back for approval? Unless it's just a direct line of, oh, just give me whatever money I can get.
Well,
That's not the way it works, correct?
I understand what you just said.
You know what I mean?
But sometimes commitments are made that I don't know about.
Okay.
And so you have to keep that in mind. So that's why I monitor these to either increase the budget next year because of this expenditure, or we're too conservative on how much money you ask for, which happens occasionally. Or I discuss this with you at a meeting.
Was the past director in charge of?
I can't hear you.
Was the past director in charge of the folk festival?
Ultimately, yes.
No,
Okay.
Don't interrupt, Nancy. I'm sorry. No, don't interrupt, okay?
Okay.
Yep, don't interrupt. Go ahead, Scott.
I
Now,
think
at
that's
the-
our answer.
Concerning Folk Festival, there was a contractual agreement for an individual to oversee the Folk Fest.
So all the folk fest budgets were presented to us. They
Correct.
were all approved.
Correct.
The additional changes were presented to this commission and were all approved.
Correct.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
When were these additions submitted to the committee for approval?
Say that again?
When were these additions submitted to the committee for approval?
Give me an example of what you mean a committee.
Well, there's the extra $6,000 and the extra $7,000. And you just said, Mr. Carter just said that those were presented before the commission and then we approved it.
Okay?
When did we do that?
I
I don't think that's accurate.
No, it's accurate. We just have to go back and pull the records and find out and go through all the minutes.
Right.
If anybody wants to do that, you're welcome to. Go pull all the minutes and look through all the minutes.
Absolutely, I will do that. And I also would like the invoices for those particular things, the addition. And this is not to pick on the Folk Fest or the Festival of Arts. I just don't understand, unless they're just using this as a kiddie. And that's what I'm trying to prevent here.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah, let's go on. Let's
Just
move
for
on.
my clarification, is there a procedure if they go over budget to bring it back to CAPC for approval?
I don't know if I'm hard of hearing. Do you have your mic on it?
Let me pull up closer. Is there a procedure in place if expenditure goes over the budget that it comes back to the CAPC for approval?
The process that's in existence now that you just described would be as if your finance department would have the list of items presented for approval and approve them at the request of them being spent versus them coming to me from someone that's committing those funds. And so the answer to that is I see them coming in
Right.
after the commitment.
You're on the other end of it.
Yes.
So who's on the front end of it?
Well, that would be your director.
Okay.
And we do budget adjustments. Last
Correct.
year, we did budget adjustments at
June.
least once or twice.
Right.
Last year, as they were needed. We see all of it. There's not any.
Well, and I think my concern is not a budget adjustment, or if we're getting it approved, it's more of, we allotted this money, these are for special events, But if they're going over that, then who's in charge of that? Because then they're just using the funds as they see fit.
I'm not over,
I know you're not.
I'm not.
I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that we may just look at this as an overall issue as we're going into this
well,
director's
let
position.
me give you an example of how I would handle it. I'm not saying I would do it, but if I'm over a line item that you give me $40,000, I'm going to make it darn sure that everyone knows if you go over this, it's coming out of your pocket. Plain and simple. If you're going to be spending money on these items and these items, you better let me know what the cost is and what you're doing, because I don't like surprises other than at my birthday and on Christmas. Don't come in here and tell me something, oh, we had to go over. Well, you just paid for it. Now, is that going on? I don't know. That's the way I would handle it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Moving on.
Thank you, Scott.
What else do you have for us on your report? And then we need
There
to...
was one other thing I think I need to point out, that on the account 6050, which is under admin, payroll, and benefits, in going through your books, I noticed that there was 2 payrolls in the year 2021 that the city was never reimbursed for. That's 2021. This was before I was here. And so in discovering that, it was, whatever, I can't find the number here. I think it was, I don't remember the exact number here. It was $13,000 or $14,000 total.
So you're saying we...
You went over budget on that line item because of those 2 payrolls.
In 2022.
In 2022, correct, because I had to expense.
So it shows 34 versus the 17
Yes,
rounding. Yeah, okay.
so that's what happened
So
on that.
there was a pay period that bled into 2022 from 2021? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying this, that in the month of September of 2021, there was 2 payrolls, CAPC payrolls, that were not expensed because CAPC did not reimburse the city.
What's the solution? Have you met with the city?
Oh, yeah, we've got it all cleared up.
Okay,
We've
you've
already
got
paid
it.
it. Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
So what happened in 2021's budget that we missed that $13,000?
You would have been under budget. Well, you could have been if you had an accurate budget, but that was
Right.
the effect.
So it was a clerical error, is that what you're saying?
I
From
think it was,
21?
at that time, during that period of time, the internet wasn't being used to transmit documentation. It was more like, we'll come by the city and pick up the worksheet, and if I get there, it was just not organized.
Okay.
But all of that's changed.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
Not
Okay.
really.
I just need a motion to approve the financials in a second. You have to speak up. Yeah, it has to.
I'll second.
Well, we need a first.
Oh, first, I'm sorry, I thought you said second. I'll first.
You can just do so and second this.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion at all on any of this? On the financials? I'm just going to do an up or down vote, so all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Financials pass. Okay, we got something done. Awesome. Okay, so we did a lot of marketing stuff. Madison normally would give us our marketing report, but these guys weren't here, so I'd like for you, can we do a
Yeah,
fast?
we can do a brief.
faster version?
We don't have to pull it up, or we can either way.
I think we should pull it up. Can we do that again, Ron? Can we go back over that marketing report real fast? Okay, and can we email that out to them so that they can see that?
Yeah, yeah, I'll send it to Scott. Everybody can.
Yeah, let's get that to Scott.
Yeah. So, I've been meeting with Paradise. So they'd asked me to be the liaison, and then so meeting with them each week, at least once or twice a week, and making sure. I mean, we just approved things, and so the contract got signed, and they could actually do stuff. But we were already kind of trying to talk about planning, and now they're in the planning phase. You'll see that here in a second. But, so the focus at the moment is spring break, and they're working on creative content right now. We'll be targeting women primarily because of families, and the 75,000 income range. You can go to the next one. So the age range 25-54, because, you know, that's where we're going to be with families, mothers kind of deal. There will be a layered in attack on couples. And by attack, you know what I mean. So,
Thank you.
what?
The lights come down.
Oh, yeah. So, kind of lists the interest targeting, and I'll make sure Scott gets the email to everyone. So there'll be, and you're already seeing it on social media. If you on Facebook, I'm seeing it where they're really highlighting the things to do around town and stuff. And it seems like they're kind of going a little further than they have in the past. I'm not sure, but that's something maybe you watch as far as pointing. Like today, I saw one that was kind of pointed out retail in a way, and I thought that was good. But anyway, so you know, the metrics show that we're getting a higher website visitor ratio of females, and so that's where that data comes from, that we want to go after the women. They're the planners, and with spring break primarily, and then we'll probably have the same strategy for the summer, really, because it's families. But let's see, anything else on there? We can go to the next slide. So then it just shows our target markets, which there's not any surprises, but in this list it does show by more of the top spending markets. And you can see Tulsa, Oklahoma, Little Rock, Kansas City, Wichita, Springfield. So we're focusing on the top 5 for spring break for spending to really try to boost the economy here for that period. You can go to the next one. And so that just kind of outlines that based on our data, those are our big markets, and then the 5 in that next section it talks about. And they primarily come for overnight stays, and they spend more. And so that's part of the piece why we're going after the 75,000 plus. Next slide, please. Spring campaign, media timing. So there we can see that we're basing this, and we'll be launching the formal campaign in 2/20, boosting spring break posts on Facebook. They'll be attacking Google too, but and then you see the full campaign launches 3/6. So they'll layer in early because they got to build the creative content. Some things that we already have that, I mean, you can look at it as we own that creative material, so they're going to use some of our material before we even get to that point. But so we've got things going, active, and so there's that. That shows you the spring break weeks. And so the spring campaign on the next slide talks about, so based off our Zydeco data, you know, where, so Zydeco is a kind of a data gathering group. We've got two, and we'll talk about the other one here in a second, but we've got 2 platforms that we've signed up for. And so it tells us, like, we'll start getting demographics information. We're already getting some of it from Zydeco, but you know, the age of folks that are coming, how much they're spending, where they're going. It does tag them in town, so it can kind of see what they're doing. So it's good data to help us tailor campaigns in the future, or for them too, anyway, and us. also, so Adara, well, let me stop, I don't go there yet. So they'll be focusing on the road trip focus for spring. And we talked about earlier, the spring campaign is going to be heavier on couples. So it's not written right on here. I got to talk to them. But spring break, families, spring, we'll flip-flop, more couples, more families. So we want that. We want them to be, and they are, they're doing it, being more agile to go after those different markets for us. Next slide, please. So then they talk about how they do that, and so it's a multi-layered campaign is how I understand it, how they've explained to me. And so, most of my experience is marketing like a hotel, a business. And so the destination marketing is a little different. So I'm trying to learn a little more about that because we're trying to market for the whole town and everyone, and trying to figure out how to raise all the boats, right, instead of getting too segmented. But they'll have video streaming out there. We talked about a real focus on the inflation piece, and that travelers are really looking for deals right now. It's like by far the biggest, 86% of travelers. And the next concern, if I remember right, was like in the 30s. But, and that's on a couple of different surveys that I looked at. Expedia was one of them. But, so they're going to try to layer that in some of the messaging. We've got the Curious Indeed campaign, which is pretty clever way to highlight the things to do and what makes us special in the history and a lot of those things. But I was pushing to really and appeal to the budget, to the budget consciousness that the traveler has, and that helps us be competitive against other markets to try to highlight that. So that's what they'll be doing. So part of it is digital audio. There's some science there, evidently, that music, especially with women, this is what they told me, that it can be a little more of an emotional reach, and that music is actually pretty effective. And so that's what they said. The native advertising. So then we've got email marketing. Some of the email marketing is, I don't know how much of a database we have. I don't think it's real robust, but they do have some stuff. So there'll be, obviously those are people that are higher up in the likely to travel here. Of course, the mobile campaigns with Google. We'll recommend an OTA and partner that can reach, so that's like Expedia and stuff they'll be going after. But it's a very layered campaign of different things. I'm pushing hard on the Facebook, Google, especially for spring break. But when we're looking at our overall campaigns, there's a lot to say for those pieces of video and PR pieces that people can look at that really educates them about the town through and you can go to the next one, through the Adara. That's the other kind of data tracking, but it's more robust than Zartico. It allows us to actually advertise through that or target people through that, whereas Zartico is more understanding the data and the trends. This allows some of that, but with they say like thousands of partners, so you get data from all those partners. Of course, that's not everything, but it is pretty robust, and then it also helps you to immediately when people are on, I want to say like hotels.com, something like that, and they're looking at Eureka, bam, you know, are having an Adara campaign going, you're tagging those people. And then you're following them around, you know, and they're constantly getting the ads during our campaigns. So anytime those, and we'll see those campaign windows coming up, it's important to know that everyone that's, during that, say like month or two, everyone that's picked up and tagged, you know, there's going to be advertising following them or appearing to them over and over to try to influence their decision-making. So next, it's just a sample of some of the data we'll get. And we'll get these in the monthly reports. We'll start seeing some of this stuff. It was similar to like the Expedia reports we've seen, and we'll still get those too. Next, please. And so right now, they're kind of game planning off of a 24-day booking window, which is kind of what the national trend is at the time. And then we'll be able to see what our actual trend is, because so far the trend has been that it's growing. People are booking further out. I'm seeing that in my business. I've heard other people are too. So that's an encouraging sign that travelers are, even though they're budget conscious, they are more willing to plan further out because they trust that it's going to happen.
Because we saw COVID, we saw that
Yeah,
window shrink
the
way
window
down.
got down to like 6 days.
Yeah.
And so that's really good. I think that's good for us. Personally, I think like the airline, all their woes they're having, I think that helps us because we're a regional deal, and so hopefully some of our competitive marketing will appeal to some of that. We talked about that specifically, like highlighting you don't have to fly, you don't have to worry
Why
about,
fly when you
you
can
know,
drive to Eureka?
some of that. So hopefully some of that will be coming in through some of the ads and stuff. I had another thought, but anyway, is there anything else?
Is there anything
Well,
else?
I brought up the invoicing
Oh, yeah, there
process.
is. There's
And
another.
this is an annual contract with
Mhm.
Paradise.
Mhm.
And I feel like that they are charging us for old content and maybe things that they weren't doing up until this point.
They're not-
And I understand we're getting down the road and we're got to do what we got to do this year. I understand that. But I think that just needs to be watched.
Yeah.
When is the contract renewed?
So we can
We can decide that.
we have a
this year.
90-day out if we want, which is nice. And it's up at the end of December is the end of the contract. But,
January to December, but then we don't start advertising until April.
yeah.
Any
So there's
questions?
some-
You guys have any questions on any of
If you want to
this?
go, we got another slide.
Oh, there's another slide.
Yeah, and we're not paying for old content. We own
Yeah.
our creative content. I've asked them, given the urgency, the situation that we're in, to get some of our content out there as they're doing creative content now. So that's just more about that dashboard. Could you go to the next one, please? And then, so this is their recommended budget allocations and the campaign dates. So we have an annual contract, but then, you know, we get to set where those campaigns cover, you know. So whether we go with Paradise or another agency in the future or multiple agencies, break it up, however we do it, obviously we need to be planning that in the future. And so if the will of our deal is to do bids, you know, I guess that's what we have to do. You know, we need to have that discussion this summer, early summer probably.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but this is, fortunately, we did approve it. You know, in a perfect world, we'd have a robust staff that we didn't need to do, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
this is where we're at. And I think they've put together a pretty good plan. And, you know, as much as I beat up on them coming on here the first couple of meetings, you look at the results of the year, you got to give them a little credit too. Something worked, because,
Yeah. No, we're up.
could have been flat or down, so.
Also, I just wanted to, because you didn't touch on this, but make sure my dates are right here. The website, we have a new website that's being built, and we'll see the preview of it on the 15th. And then on the 17th, tell me the 17th is changes,
Yes.
and then it can launch as early as the 21st.
21st, if there's no
I'd like to
changes.
recommend that we at least consider a special meeting, probably on the 17th, that we all look at it together. Okay, so Chris will see it on the 15th, we would see it on the 17th, and we'd be able to give feedback so that we can launch it on the 21st and not be delayed. So you guys, if you look over your schedule and send it to Scott or the chair, whoever the chair is.
I'll be out of town.
So how about the 16th? Are you out of town all those
Yeah.
days? So we're all going skiing and we're going to do a meeting wherever. Okay. Anything else on the marketing? Any questions on the marketing? I need somebody to keep the clock for 3 minutes for public comments. Somebody volunteer to do that for me.
I don't have a lot.
Do we have any public comments?
You want to do it?
Yeah, I did.
Madison left.
So, Harry, I know we all know who you are, but will you state your name and your address and
Harry
your
Meyer,
and your position in the
3
city?
Cross Street. I was on this commission a couple of years ago. We did a lot of changes. We thought we were moving forward. Then lots of resistance, a lawsuit, and whatever. We did hire some folks, but because of the rancor in this town, because people do not act professionally, I mean, a few days before Madison left, she met Carol Wright outside during a snowstorm. She's getting ready to leave because of the snow. Jeff Gregory comes up and calls her a piece of shit. Now, how are you going to get anybody else to take that kind of job? They're lying. They're saying things about, okay, funding of projects. I remember when the commission authorized the director to reimburse people for advertising for their events. But the only stipulation was they had to bring an invoice for that advertising.
Yeah.
2 different people, 2 different groups did not bring an invoice. One brought a credit card statement. That's not an invoice. But then they told everyone in town they were lied to by the CAPC. So please, staff this place up before you dump Paradise so we don't have any advertising at all. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you. Thanks.
Someone else?
I was just going to say, I have the budget for Folk Festival for last year and the year before, and I'm looking, I don't see the extra 7,000 you're talking about, but we're under budget the year that I put it together. We were under 17,000, and we had 7,000 extra beyond what you gave us. So I think there was a chunk of money, I'm not sure.
I'll explain.
Yeah, you'll explain, that was available, which they produced a show on Friday night with. As I'm looking at what they had there, they didn't have advertising for that Friday night show, so they may have used some of those funds for that. I can send you that whole budget.
Okay.
But I know I produced it the year before, and we were like $15,000 to $17,000 under budget of what we had. So that's I just want, if you want that information, I've got it on my
Yes,
phone, I
please.
can send it to you.
Thank you.
And also, I just wanted to come up here, I sent y'all an email before I went off to the Folk Alliance, and I know since there's no one in the office, things aren't getting booked. And if you'd like me to contract the Balm of Life or start working on booking some music early enough that we can get it in the advertisement, so we can get the people and get the acts to get their fan base to bring people into town, I'd love to help you all with that, and hopefully you'll get a director or auditorium director soon that can do that. But if you don't, I'm willing to help you all do that, because especially with folk, the sooner you get it out there, people plan their folkies plan their schedule really early in the year, and the sooner you get it out there, the sooner you get those people there. But that's it. But I've got your email addresses, and I'll send you this budget information.
Could you give me your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Nancy Paddock. I was the talent liaison for Folk Festival last year, and I produced the Folk Festival in 2021. I've worked for the I always say it backwards, CAPC, on and off in the events office since probably 2008. I came on when Janet Alexander, and I've worked for Ray and different people over the years, and I put on a house concert series in town, and I'm kind of involved in the folk music business. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Nancy. Someone else?
Hi there, I'm Jack Moyer. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Crescent and the Basin Park Hotels. I'm here today as a collector. We're in good standing. You know, our 3% collections equal $342,509 of your budget. And I have to admit, Chris, I appreciate your efforts. I heard some things that gave me a ray of hope. But I do say that I have been concerned. I know that many of my fellow collectors are frustrated regarding the organization and the operation. And I'm here looking for some improvement and also seeking some clarity. And really that focuses around the fundamentals of the organization. Specifically, I'm looking for a marketing plan from Paradise on an annual basis that is approved through the commission. I'm looking for an ad buy from Paradise that is presented to the commission and is approved. And I'm looking for a social media strategy that comes with a content calendar and has some local oversight. Most specifically, I think we are really concerned that our collections are going to the intended purpose. I took some time, you know, people may say they know what we're thinking and whatnot as an organization. I took some time to frame that out, and I put it into a note. I want you guys to know first person what our hotels would work as an efficient operation for advertising and promotion. To be used for advisement, you guys have to make the decision, but I wanted you to hear a first-person thought on what I think the tourism organization and infrastructure might benefit all of us in the community. Most importantly, I want you to think about one thing. I think the biggest concern we have is scale of our organization. Here's something to think about. The advertising for the year to be placed with Paradise presented here today, all in digital, is $355,500. The advertising spent by our hotels was $334,681. We're not putting enough money towards core advertising. You can't have Larry up here thinking that Paradise is going to advertise his shows. You don't have enough money put to the core element of finding a path to be a successful organization. We can't farm out our social media to someone who's not in market and be relevant and timely. We have a challenge there. So today I'm just here learning. I appreciate the opportunity to hear what you have. We are open to collaborate and help with this effort. And I put some thoughts down of some successful things that have happened over the past 27 years here in Eureka Springs. So thank you for your time and your volunteerism. Here is this. You can take it or burn it. Your choice.
Thank you.
Just give those to Scott, and we'll pick those up.
Thank you, Mr. Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff Gregory, 82 Armstrong Street, Cat House. Hey, so I really like that Jack came up there first. I kind of want to reiterate what I was saying. Chris, I guess that's your name next to Autumn right there?
Yes.
So I too, watching the meetings, thought there was a breath of fresh air because at the beginning, I seen that you were clicking that you needed more information. that you needed something to base your deal on. I had a chance to talk to you, sir, new city council guy. I had a chance to talk to you too. It just seems like you guys are always in so much of a hurry, and I know it's overwhelming. And Autumn's is bringing it up 2 or 3 times tonight to ask for an overall spreadsheet of what Folk Fest cost. How much is why not just can't you get a spreadsheet on it? It's like and that's just one thing. And you guys did a great job with Folk Fest. It's not that big a deal, but I'm just saying that it's like you think you're being transparent and it's not. And Jack's right. I mean, everything that you talked about, Chris, right there, we know as business owners here, we have marketing campaigns. We're putting people in the seats right there. But you have a very elementary plan that's almost a high school presentation for a community this large. I mean, we know the answers to that. And here's the thing is, I heard you say it now, and this is what's concerning. You're saying the numbers that Scott's showing you in tax revenue is Paradise must be doing the right job. No, they're not. Jack Moyer's doing the right job. Local Flavor's doing the right job. Autumn and Rodney are doing the right job. Those are the people that are putting the peoples in the seats. Sauced, Rockin' Pig, the motorcycles. It's the community as itself is growing. They're the ones doing it. Paradise, you're giving Paradise credit for something they're not doing. You got a spring break planned. But our spring is already planned. We got Diversity Weekend. We got the AA Festival in April. We got a spring bike rally. What can you do to put any more people in those already? Nothing. It's February 10th, and you're looking at a marketing campaign for March and April. You're behind. I think you've got good intentions, sir, but I don't think none of you have came to our businesses and got to know. Jack said it. He's much better with words than I am. He wears a suit and everything. If we need a local flavor you're getting your information. You just gave me stuff that some 28-year-old kid in Florida told you would be best for us. That's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. This town's done a great job. Hire within the town. Right now, you don't even have the infrastructure to do anything right now. Put a stop on your funding. You say you got a 90-day out on Paradise's contract. You know, that money shouldn't be going anywhere. There's no one to disperse it. You have no infrastructure here. You okayed a contract that none of you have seen that contract. If you, from your last meeting, I don't know what you're saying. You said you had never seen the physical contract. Pull the contract.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Randy Wolfenbarger. Received a phone call today, and I just wanted to share it with you. It came from the state of Arkansas on the Department of Parks and Tourism, which I do serve on that commission. They want to know who their point persons are going to be on certain projects throughout the state. Travel writers, influencers coming to the state. I would be willing, if you would like, to be the point person so I can share it with someone on the commission, but they need to know that information ASAP. So I'm just giving you the point. Please call me. I'd be happy to be that point person for you, to share the information, make sure it gets to the right individuals. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bo Satori. I live at 2 Fairmount. I've been attending events here in this auditorium for 50 years. I've served on this commission for 6 years, and sometime in the 70s, some in the 80s, some in the 90s, some in the 2000s. There's lots of things that I'm concerned about, but I mainly want to address some remarks to Commissioner Holofield, Commissioner Hicks, Commissioner Clifton, and Commissioner Jones. You're new here, and there's a lot of things I don't know that you've been brought up to speed on. First of all, I want you to know that this commission has not had, in 50 years that this commission's been here, has not had an executive director in 4 years. Our former director, Mike Maloney, resigned on January 23rd of 2019. We've not had a director since. We've had this commission hire somebody to serve as that. 9 months later, they did not have They had fraudulent resume. They did not know what they were doing. They were gone after whatever money they got. Then we had interim directors. Then they ran off the interim directors. And then they hired an intern. Then they started calling the intern the tourism director. That's not an executive director. We have been adrift for 4 years. And the main reason for this is your chairman, Jeff Carter, who's been on here since 2018. In 2019 into 2020, there was a campaign by commissioners, Mr. Carter and the like, to get rid of all the employees. We had an employee been here for 19 years running our office. We had another employee been running our books for 9 years. And they went on a campaign to get rid of these people. We have evidence of them emailing each other to undermine those employees, and we have them on record recording of talking to persuade other people to get rid of them. And then they finally ran them off by 2021, and they have been collapsed ever since. And that's why there's a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Mr. Carter and against those councilmen and commissioners. And so you new commissioners, I want you to be very careful of who you're talking to, because you're very vulnerable in this seat. You may have all the best intentions in the world. You may want to be the spokesperson for Paradise, but we've gone through a half a dozen ad agencies already. And we know shysters and fluffers from way back. And knowing what our data is has not changed. We've had the same city for 50 years. We've had the same source of tourism, Tulsa, all these cities, for 50 years. We don't need to be paying everybody to tell us what our business is here. We know what it is. But when we're watching these meetings, you new commissioners, when you just sit there and listen, we know who's been doing their homework and who's not doing their homework. So be very careful of who you listen to on this. There's a dozen things I could go into, but I'll give it up at that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Public comments? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, anybody have any agenda updates?
I do.
Okay, motion for that?
Make a motion to put on the agenda itemized invoicing for Paradise.
Okay. Do you have a specific line or item?
Just that.
Okay, do we have a
And-
second?
I don't think we have to vote on that.
Yeah, the commission voted for this procedure.
Is that in our bylaws? Because I don't think that that's,
I don't know if it's in the bylaws, but this was approved and voted on. This is
I tried to put this on the agenda before I even got here, but I didn't get an agenda until I showed up today. So I think that it
I'll
should.
second it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we have a second, so let's go into
Can we
discussion.
put Jeff on, Jeff Gregory, is he still here? He's not? Okay. I would also like to put hire an interim director.
Well, we need to vote on
Okay.
that item before we move on to another one. So tell us exactly what your motion is, and we have a second so that we're clear, and then we can have discussion.
Just so you know, we do not have to vote on these certain things to put anything on the agenda.
Yeah, we do.
We do not. Anybody can put anything on the agenda if they sit at this table.
You can put it on the agenda, but you would need to reach out to the director or to the chair and to request on it.
I did reach out to those people, and you were included in that email, but the mayor...
That's a whole different,
No, no, no.
That's a whole
The
different-
mayor stopped all of that communication
because it's illegal.
to put something on the agenda.
All you had to do was message either Madison, which was still an employee at the time, or you could have messaged me directly.
I did message Madison and you and everybody at this
But in a
table.
group email, it was irresponsible for anyone to reply to. It would have been considered business, right? And so no
That
one
you
can
are
reply.
telling me to reach out to these people and then directly telling me that that is not the right thing to do. So which one is it?
Well, you can communicate with the chair, but you can't communicate with everybody on the commission.
Then
Not at
why
one
didn't
time
you
in a meeting.
communicate back
Because it was in a group email.
about the agenda?
I think I'm going to side with the mayor on that.
Okay.
So what is the procedure for adding something to the agenda?
So any commissioner can reach out to the director or to the chair and say, I'd like to add this item to the agenda, and it gets on the agenda, right? And so it's not hard. It's an easy
During
process.
the meeting, it has to be seconded and voted on?
Yes. Yeah.
No, the
Ever
city
since
city
I've been here.
councils is proposed, second, and then it's just put on the agenda, right? There's no vote.
Yes, sir.
But I guess every
It's
organization is
different here because
I'm not trying to be
he wants it
difficult,
to
I'm
be
just-
different.
No, this is how it's always been, this is how it was.
I don't care if it's written on this
And-
piece of paper.
It's just
I
how
don't
it's always been.
understand how that's always been, because it's not the way it's always been. It's only been that way since you've been here.
No, I didn't add this on here. This was done before I was the chair.
It doesn't matter. Let's vote on it so we can get on to the next agenda meeting.
Okay, so tell me what your motion is.
A motion to itemized invoicing for Paradise be approved through this commission.
So this would only, you would only be adding something to the agenda here, right? So you
Yes.
want to have that discussion to add that on there, okay? And you still
Yes.
want to second it?
Yes.
Okay. So any discussion on that?
So what does that look like? I'm just
So
curious.
what I am proposing is that, especially while we have an interim director of whoever we choose, that we at least get the items or the invoicing itemized, not just a general tag of what it is, an itemized invoice through Paradise approved here until we get a director, until we can get these things a little more approved in a professional way.
Any other
That's my
discussion?
thoughts.
Okay, let's take a vote. Steve Holyfield?
Yes.
Okay. Chris Clifton?
Yes.
Chris Jones?
Yes.
Okay. Autumn?
Yes.
Of course. Mark Hicks?
Yes.
Okay, and then, of course, that I don't have to vote. So well, let's put that under, you want to do that first under new business? Or do you want to put it at the end?
That's not
Where
what
would you
I
like it
do.
on the agenda?
I don't care.
Okay, well, let's put it right here under new business. Very first. Okay.
Okay, I would also like to make a motion to hire an interim director.
We have staffing on here under new business under D. Is it okay for us to keep it in that spot there where we could hire an interim here if we,
Am I going to be allowed to talk about different
Absolutely.
other things?
anything related to
Job
staffing?
description?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. Unless someone opposes it, yeah. So that's what the staffing is there for under D. Did you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's going to cover it.
Okay, good. Anyone else on
Thank you.
agenda updates?
Are we talking, so with, I don't know, I guess we need to put it on the deal. Make a motion to approve what we've discussed with Paradise to move forward. I mean, otherwise you're leaving it on me. So as a group, I'd prefer that we formally
Approve the market.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's not a,
So you don't have
It's
that
not
discussed.
approved.
You'll put that on there.
unless I told them to go,
Okay, so approve
Thank
marketing.
you.
Do we have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay. And any discussion? Okay. Steve Holyfield?
Yes.
Well, hold on. So are we going
I'm
to
gonna
vote
put-
on that plan or just to put it on the?
Only
Oh,
to
okay.
Just putting it on the
Yeah,
agenda.
Okay,
Yep. So, okay, yes from Steve. Chris Clifton?
yes.
Chris Jones?
Yes.
Autumn Slane?
Yes.
Mark Hicks?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to put that right underneath Autumn and new business, right here. So it would be marketing approval. Okay, any other agenda items? Okay, so Autumn, I'm going to give you the floor for what you wanted on your,
Well, I think I basically already have said it. I think until we get a director, that we need to be approving these invoices, and we need to be looking at them, just to make sure that what we are paying for is what we are getting, and especially with you being a liaison, I think that it's just a great way to tie up some strings, going into this new director situation that we've got.
So part of,
make your motion.
Okay.
Let's get a second, and we'll vote on it. So your motion is that
Okay.
we see all the invoicing from Paradise. You want to state your motion?
I make a motion to see all the invoicing from
Okay.
Paradise in an itemized fashion. Invoices, no statements,
At this table.
to be approved through
Okay.
the commission.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
So I think we need to clarify the media buy piece. How did, I think there's a little questioning of how that's being handled with the invoicing and approval. So, you know, I asked Scott, he said it wasn't hard for him to set up the accounts and pay the vendors directly. But is that what we were trying to do?
I think we had that discussion, but I don't think there was a decision made. Paradise, from my discussions directly with them, is they're willing to allow us to pay vendors directly if we want. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so they're curious about that. In the past, they have said, here's the amount we want to spend. We've approved it, or the commission has approved it, and then for the campaigns like we're talking about, and then they pay their vendors and then invoice us. So then they're asking, well, are we just like ordering it and you're directly paying them? To me, that seems like more work for Scott, but I don't really care either way personally.
Okay.
Well,
So it's got to be clarified.
I thought in our last meeting with Madison, we broke that out, and we were no longer paying them that lump sum.
Right.
Correct?
No, right, and so the way I took it was we were going to approve each time they needed to spend any of that. But then they came to me and said, well, they thought that we were going to pay the vendors and they wouldn't. And I'm like, well, no, it seems like you would. And we just approve that piece before you do. But that's what I was looking for
Well,
clarification.
At the last meeting, it was, that was split out. Because originally, it was $500,000 roughly, and then it was reduced to $300,000, but that additional 300 or
350, I think.
yeah, it was like, yes.
Yeah.
That additional amount was going to be left in our kitty to be able to use and only do that. So we are liable for that. After that last meeting, we decided not to give them the full budget, and we decided to,
Yeah.
correct?
Am I not explaining it right? I don't know. So
Am I confused?
either way, we have to approve the amount. They can't touch it. They can't do anything till we approve it. That was what we did. The question is, who pays the vendor? Them or us? So,
Oh, I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Who
Which
writes
was
the
still
check?
unclear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who literally writes the check?
So, to me, unless it saves us money somehow, but I don't think it does.
I think it does.
Or maybe it does. I don't know. I don't
You don't want it
think
to
does.
delay the process.
Right. It will slow it a little, I think.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Okay,
Well-
let's vote. Chris Clifton,
Yes.
Steve Holyfield,
Yes.
Chris Jones,
Yes.
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
and Mark Hicks.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And now I have approval of the marketing that you wanted.
So, this is the overview of what they're.
Make your motion.
Oh, I make a motion to approve the campaign's overview
As presented.
as presented, yeah.
As presented. We have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
So that's the campaign overview. That doesn't include any of the tactics that they'll be using, all the
You can say-
different media and things.
And we can pull that back up if anybody wants to see
That
it
had a very,
again.
very general summary of the deal.
No more discussion?
No.
All right, well, let's vote. Chris Clifton?
Yes.
Okay, Chris Jones?
Yes.
Autumn Slane?
Yes.
Mark Hicks,
Yes.
and Steve Holyfield.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so this marketing support, we have this marketing support, but honestly, I'm visited with Scott, and we don't physically know where these documents are. Scott, can you help me? What? We have these different marketing supports, but we don't know where these physical documents are at this time, right?
That's correct. I've been through every piece of paper in that part of the office, and I can't find them.
So I'd like to table this marketing support, and as soon as we can, go ahead.
There is some gentlemen here with Springtime in the Ozarks.
We don't have the paperwork,
Okay,
right? and
But
the
I wanted to let you know
documentation.
that they
And so I would like to table these, and the second that we can locate these, if you
Okay.
guys want to do a special meeting or whatever we need to do, since we don't have a director, right? I feel like we're going to have to do more special meetings. We're going to have to speed the process up, right? I'm willing to do that and come at any time that we can to make sure this stuff gets approved in a timely manner. So
Right.
you guys are okay with us tabling that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to table that. Okay, staffing. We know we know we need staff, so what's the,
Well, I mentioned in the planning deal, I would make a motion to consider Scott for the interim director position.
it's okay, so a motion for Scott is interim, made by Chris. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, let me get my notes here. Okay, discussion? Now, we can, if we choose, at this point, we could do executive session, right? To consider Scott for interim. If you guys want to do that, or we can keep it open.
I'd recommend executive session for,
For that?
yeah.
Okay, so we'll need a motion and a second for that, so we can do executive.
Move to go to executive session to discuss Scott.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll step out and we'll go downstairs to the office and we'll discuss. And just to be clear, we're discussing hiring Scott as an interim director. Be right back. You ready? So I need to call the meeting back to order, please. Okay, we're still in our executive session. We have a motion. Will you please state your motion?
I move that we hire Scott Bard as interim director for $80,000 a year. This will encompass his existing half-time position with a review every 90 days.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
I second.
We have 2 seconds, that's perfect. Okay, let's vote. Steve Holyfield,
Yes.
Chris Clifton,
Yes.
Chris Jones,
Yes.
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
and Mark Hicks.
Yes.
Okay? Do you accept?
With great pride, I love this town very much, and I pledge that you will see a positive difference in a very short period of time. And thank you for your support, and we're ready to move forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott, very much. I need a motion to close executive session.
I move we close the executive session.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now we're out of executive session. That's done. Thank you, and thank commissioners for their time and patience on that. Okay, we're still on staffing because I still think we in our workshop, we talked about the potential of a committee, like a subcommittee. I just want to remind you guys before we put together a committee that if multiple commissioners decide to be on that committee, then you have to meet in public. It has to be a public notice, and the press has to be invited, okay? So keep that in mind if you decide that you want to have multiple commissioners on that. With that said, let's figure out how to put together a committee and get that done. I would recommend Scott, of course, be on that committee. I'd probably recommend that we have somebody from the general public, at least one commissioner or 2 commissioners.
What about Lynn? Has she been on something like
Lynn
that
would,
before?
we
Would she
can
do it?
ask, she has in the past, and I'm sure she would help us again. But we
Who's
would just have to ask.
Lynn Berry.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so she's in that world in
Right.
Branson. She's their
Branson.
director.
Do one of you want to volunteer to head that committee?
What does the committee look like?
Well,
What's the,
you.
I think we
it's
decide
gonna be
that
someone
here.
from- It's going to be Scott. If you volunteer, or Chris volunteered, you would be probably the head of that committee. That's how I see it. And then you would have other committee members. I mean, it's a lot of
so,
work.
and that's to look at possible director applications?
All of them.
And
I would
auditorium
say it would be
director?
all of them. Working with Scott, working with the city.
Okay.
That's how I would see it.
I'll volunteer. My wife may kill me.
We won't tell her.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to be on that committee, or you want to just have one person?
I'll do it.
Okay. I think that's wise. And then the meetings are public, right? And they're public meetings, and then we can invite the press, and it gets covered, and it's done. But I think that's great. So we need a motion to do that, and then let's make a motion that includes maybe at least 2 other members, and let's get this approved.
I'll make a motion, we set up a hiring committee consisting of course, Scott, Chris, myself, and at least 2 other members.
Okay?
Second?
Okay. Any other discussion? Everybody's understands? There any other discussion? Okay. Steve Holyfield,
Yes.
Chris Clifton,
Yes.
Chris Jones,
Yes.
Autumn Slane,
Yes.
and Mark Hicks.
Yes.
Okay, good. And I will let you guys decide how often you want to meet, and you guys can work that out, right? I would recommend that you schedule a meeting right away to work out those details.
Be careful of your recommendations, Jeff. I would just be careful of that. I think the chair's position is to only direct the meeting, not make
Well, that leads us
recommendations.
to our next thing. Who wants to be the chair?
Well, I'm not done with the staffing.
Okay, so you've
I
got
wanted to
something.
talk about the job description for the director.
Okay. Do you have copies for everybody?
No, but I can pass this around if we want to do that. Our current, do I have to make a motion? Or we're under staffing, so,
Yeah,
Okay.
just tell me what you're thinking and make your motion, and we'll, do you have changes that you want to make?
yes.
Okay.
So really what I'm wanting to do, there's a couple of things. Bachelor degree in business, communication, hospitality management, or a related field, that's a requirement. 2 years working experience with destination marketing. And then the rest of it's, like marketing and social media knowledge. Everything else looks pretty good. I am concerned with, I feel like we need at least 5 years in a management background. And we need to do background checks for this person. References need to be checked. And I think we should at least have 7 years of tourism knowledge.
Isn't that, all of that what the committee would do?
I'm hoping so.
I mean, I
Okay.
I think the
I'm good
committee
with
would
that.
do all that.
Yeah.
And as they report
Yeah.
back to us, then we can see that information.
Okay, so that'll be the first line of agenda for you guys then. Come back with a description, and then we'll decide if that's correct. Okay, I'm good with that.
All right. Anything else on staffing?
Okay.
Okay. Chair. Who wants to be chair?
How are we proceeding with this?
Well, somebody needs to nominate somebody. We need a nomination. I'll nominate Chris Clifton to be the chair.
Second.
Okay.
That was too quick.
No one else is going to do it. Any discussion on that? Tell us, will you
Yeah.
accept that?
Huh?
Will you accept that nomination?
Based on, I have a life, and so I'm not gonna, and I have a job, and I have a wife who's more important than our business or this, and so, that's that.
I get it. Is that an acceptance of the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and we had a second. Any other discussion? Okay, well, let's vote. Steve Holyfield?
Yes.
I'm not going to let you vote, Chris. Chris Jones?
Yes.
Autumn Slane?
Yes.
And Mark Hicks?
Yes.
Okay, that's 4 votes. We don't need any more. Okay, we need a vice chair.
I'll nominate Steve Holyfield.
I'll second that.
Let me ask you this, as the vice chair, and I specifically asked Butch this week about the chair position, and no one on city council has ever operated as the chair. Is there any conflict for you guys being the vice chair
For city council?
with the city council?
I have no idea.
Because I did not specifically, I specifically asked about the chair position, and that's never happened before, and he recommended against it, that any of the city council people.
I think at this point, we'll be down to not very many people.
And the
I
vice
mean,
chair
if you're
doesn't do
doing-
much.
Yeah, yeah.
We could always bring it back up and
I think, I'm okay with just voting on it, and then we'll vet it. How about we do that? I'll be glad to go to Butch and ask, and you guys can too, but, okay. All right, so do we have a second?
Second? I think.
Okay. Chris Clifton?
Yes.
Okay. Chris Jones?
Yes.
Autumn Slane?
Yes.
And Mark Hicks?
Yes.
Okay. We need a secretary treasurer. Now, the secretary obviously keeps up with the minutes and then presents those to us for approval and does the opening roll. Mark?
Chris?
Chris.
Chris?
Chris.
I mean, we make a nomination then?
I'll nominate Chris, if she'll accept it.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Autumn?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, okay. Just be sure to say it in the mic, just so I make sure it's on the record.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4 yeses. Okay, so that was easier than I thought. Okay, so in the past, we did this was something that we did to kind of plug the hole of not having a tourism director, right? Is we had a commissioner that oversaw all of the signing of all of the contracts to make sure contracts were legal, to make sure that the verbiage was in representation of the commission's wishes as a whole, right? Patrick served in that capacity for us while he was on the commission. We can do that. I put this on here because I thought, well, we could do that again. That way we know that one commissioner's looking at every contract, and that included contracts all the way down to like band level. Every contract was approved by one commissioner, and if there was any issues, they were brought here to this table. So, do we want to have that again, or do we want to not do that?
I think we should.
Okay? That leaves Mark.
And me.
I nominate Autumn.
Well played. Second,
For
contract signed.
who's
Autumn.
for
He said
Autumn?
autumn.
Okay. So, Autumn, so we have first and second. Chris Jones,
Yes.
okay. Mark Hicks,
Yes.
Chris Clifton,
Yes.
Steve Holyfield.
Yes.
Okay. Man, we are,
Did you accept? Oh, wow.
we are unanimous
I
across
want
the
to see
board.
those, you know what I mean?
Okay, so then what we
That's
have
what I
now is we have, I got one more line.
Check center.
Yeah, and so we have to, this has to be kind of specific on our motion, because we have to remove, Melissa Green is still on left over from last year. She's still in the bank to sign checks, and to my knowledge, Scott, she's not been signing any checks, right, right. So, Melissa would need to be removed, correct? Madison also would need to be removed, correct? And then we need to name the signees that we want to be on the bank. And then when that motion gets approved, Scott will take that to the bank and they'll make those adjustments, right? But we can't just add people, we have to name who's coming off and who's going on. Did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So, what we did also is Scott, as the finance director, does not sign any checks. We kind of made that protection. And then we also put to where every check had to be signed by at least one commissioner and one staff member, so that there was always check and balance there for review of checks and invoices, right? So it went to Scott, Madison, and then me or Melissa, okay? So, that's what we need.
I nominate Mark.
Okay?
Second.
Well, it needs to be
need more.
specific. We need a motion to remove Melissa Green, a motion to remove Madison Dawson. And then you have to decide, you can remove me, I'm okay with that. You can remove me from signing checks.
I
And then
don't want to do it,
And then we would add,
so it's not removed.
and then we would add Mark as a signee. We don't have a director to put in that position, so it will be two commissioners that will be signing checks. Okay,
What will your role be in this commission after today?
I'll just be a commissioner
Okay, you will be a commissioner. Okay,
until 2024,
I got you.
2020, whenever my runs out. Okay.
So you get to make a motion to take Madison off, take Melissa Green off,
Yep.
take, we can leave Jeff on, though, right?
Different.
Leave Jeff on,
Leave me on.
and add Mark,
Okay,
and then that's it, right?
yeah. Is that all? Make sure.
So we have two commissioners
But there's no staff member to add.
There's no staff
can't
member
add
to add.
Scott.
We can't add Scott. I wouldn't recommend us adding
Okay,
Scott.
'cause he's-
Now, we have had finance directors in the past who've signed checks, but this
Okay.
commission talked about that at length a year ago, a year and a half ago, and
Okay.
we just didn't think it was a good idea for a guy to be able to approve a check and sign.
Right.
That just didn't sound great to us. Okay, so let's do that. I want to do a second.
Second?
Okay. And any discussion on that? Everybody's okay with that? Okay. Steve Holyfield,
Yes.
Chris Clifton,
Yes.
Chris Jones.
Yes.
Autumn Slane.
Yes.
And Mark Hicks.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's everything. Commissioner comments? We didn't do this the last meeting, and just because I think we forgot, but do you have any comments for the public? Autumn? We'll get to you.
I don't think so.
Okay. Mr. Clifton?
I would just say I'm going to try to push for unity with the community, with all of us, and just hopefully we can come together.
Okay. Thank you, Scott, for your service. I mean,
I would,
it's a big deal.
I would like to consider doing the meetings earlier.
This is my time. You've already
Well,
ended your
there's
commissioner
comments.
comments.
Oh.
And it was my turn.
That's just a dramatic pause.
Oh. Thank you, Scott. You have any questions?
No, thank you, Scott. Let's stay focused on,
Welcome to the
yes, on
commission.
the comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott, as well. I'd like to apologize again for being late. I thought the meeting started at 6. No one told me any different. That's just not having a staff member. I'm looking forward to this commission moving forward, making some progress, getting online, and getting business done. So thanks for everybody for being here. Okay,
motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion dismissed. Everybody can go home.